In what seems like their annual battle to see who wins the AFC Championship and go to the Super Bowl, Kansas City quarterback Patrick Mahomes squared off against Buffalo Bills QB Josh Allen. And what has also become an annual occurrence, Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs advance to go on to the big dance. This is QB Unfiltered, my take, the breakdown on two elite quarterbacks.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Okay, the Chiefs advanced to the Super Bowl to face the Philadelphia Eagles with their 32-29 win over the Buffalo Bills on Sunday afternoon in Kansas City. And this much can be said. You know, once again, Josh Allen is in the debate all season long for who's going to be the MVP of the NFL. He's in the debate every year, all season long. And once again, Patrick Mahomes delivers in the playoffs and takes his team to the Super Bowl. Mahomes and his NFL resume are in rare air. This is his seventh consecutive AFC Championship game appearance. He now is 5 wins, 2 losses. He's 17-3 in the playoffs. He's thrown 16 touchdown passes and 2 interceptions in the playoffs. And he has won 3 Super Bowl rings. He's trying to become the first quarterback in NFL history to win 3 consecutive Super Bowls. And if he does beat Philly, he'll be tied with Joe Montana and Terry Bradshaw for the second most wins for a quarterback, Super Bowl wins in NFL history, with 4, trailing only the great Tom Brady. And before we jump into the QB analysis, this show is only going to be about the 2 quarterbacks with a couple of by-the-ways thrown in there. I'm not going to talk about any of the questionable and brutal missed calls or any of the non-calls that I think and everybody else thinks had a major effect on the outcome of this game. Just going to focus on Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. Let's start with Josh Allen. Allen was 22 for 34 for 237 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he added 39 rushing yards on 11 carries. Buffalo runs a series with him, QB power series, where they're blocking down and pulling linemen out in front of him. So as he's done all season long in his whole career, he's able to hurt defenses with his legs. And a lot of those short yardage sneaks, quarterback sneaks, are what is known as the tush push, which, it's, the running back is right there behind him and Allen's going to find a bubble and just try to bulldoze and move the pile. And that running back and any offensive lineman that can do it are going to end up behind him, pushing him forward. Allen didn't start the game off very good. And I've got a notepad next to my chair when I'm watching these games. And I wrote down after the second play of the game for him, second offensive play for the Bills, that Josh Allen needed to slow down. He needed to slow down up in his head. He just looked like he was rushing himself, a little frantic. Okay, the first play, he missed a wide open receiver with should have been an easy completion. He misfired on the play. And then on the second play, he forced the ball into coverage. Now, he did this a few times in this game where he basically just threw it up to a receiver who really had no chance based on the coverage and the coverage look and being surrounded by defenders, having a defender in between Allen and his receiver and still trying to stick it in there. Okay, and then after the first series, the second series, he went out there and he muffed a shotgun snap by the ball is in the air. And you always tell your quarterbacks, you don't move your feet, you don't move your body, and you don't move your eyes until you catch the snap and secure that. Well, as the ball is in the air coming to him, Josh turns his head and his eyes to start to key to the left, to the curl or the flat, and boom, the ball's on the ground. So he didn't start off real crisp in this game. Okay, as always, when I talk about quarterbacks and their play, I talk about what I think their best throws of the game were. This is Josh Allen's best throws. Okay, this one wasn't necessarily a great throw. All right. But he did a really nice job of seeing the blitz pre-snap, getting the protection right. Okay. You could hear the audio on the field. You could hear him killing the play and changing the protection, getting it right. And then he stood in there against a blitz from Kansas City, caught the snap. He GST'd it. All right. Grab, stab, and throw, and strided into it and threw a really nice strike to receiver Cooper. Like I said, it wasn't the world's greatest throw, but the fact that he got the protection right and he stood in there in the teeth of a blitz and he put it on his receiver for a first down. Okay, then you've got the 3rd and 13 bullet that he threw on the dig route to his receiver Shakir, which he ran down to the 6-yard line, and it set up Buffalo's first touchdown. Now, this was a backside read for Allen, okay? When he took the snap and started to drop, he was keying left. He went through his progressions and snapped his eyes to the backside and then delivered an absolute BB to Shakir on the dig route. Okay, then you've got the dime he threw, the 34-yard touchdown pass on the seam route to Hollins with 29 seconds left in the first half. You know, Kansas City was in sort of a bracket coverage. It was man-to-man, but they took their 2 safeties, and one of them bracketed one of the receivers. The other safety bracketed another receiver, and Josh Allen found a singled-up receiver, which was Hollins running that middle seam vertical, and Allen selected him. Good move mentally, and then dropped a nice, soft little 2 in there. Okay, a little bit of soft air on that throw, and dropped it right in there for the touchdown. Then we go to the fourth quarter with about 7:40 to go in the game, and Buffalo's down 29-22. It's 3rd and 8, and he throws a bender down to the 3-yard line, and this is versus cover 2, Mina Kimes. This is versus cover 2, and this is one of the routes that gashes cover 2. You run the receiver on the bender where he splits the safeties. Now, the only thing I'll say about this is Josh Allen took a 3-step drop, and that ball should have been out much sooner than it was. But he had sloppy feet with his drop, so it wasn't 1, 2, 3 stride and throw. And those 4, 5, 6 little sloppy steps, that means the ball's still in his hands. And when that happens, the ball has to travel further down the field. That's where you have safeties now that can get in easier and help break up that pass route. But he threw a perfect ball and put it right on his receiver. Big play. And finally, with 2 minutes to go, it's 4th and 5 from their 47. And Allen makes a play, somehow gets the ball downfield to Kincaid. Kincaid should have made the catch. You know, it's a difficult catch, but that's what he gets paid to do. I'm sure he's made a catch like this tons and tons of times in his career. The fact that Buffalo was in a bad play based on the formation that they were in and what Kansas City did defensively, Buffalo was really screwed with their pass protection, and Allen did a hell of a job of buying some time for himself, finding Kincaid and actually getting the ball down to him and giving him a chance to make a big catch and a big play, and it didn't happen. Okay, this is the 4th and 5, right? This is the last gas for the Buffalo Bills, and they've got a problem here with their pass protection. And, you know, I think they would have been okay if they just would have kept the running back out there, because they've got the Chiefs outnumbered. But as soon as they bring him in motion, all right, and then release him on this little swing route, where they take anything away from over here, like a punch screen, a bubble. I mean, they're outnumbered over here, right? You have 4 on 3, and this guy's 9 yards off, okay? But they motion him in, and on the snap of the ball, they swing him back out. Now, this is the issue. They're running mesh, okay? And it's going to go like this. Okay, they're running mesh with a dig in the backside. And like I said, they've got him outnumbered over here. As soon as they motion this guy in and then bring him back out and swing him on the snap, they're screwed, because this is what Kansas City does, and Spagnuolo, their defensive coordinator. Now, look what this corner does, okay? This is the surprise. This is one of the surprises that Spagnuolo runs, and he's able to do this because of the split by the single receiver is in tight. This corner's got a short porch in which to come, which he does into B gap. But where they get into trouble, where the Bills get into trouble, is they're outnumbered with that guy up on the line of scrimmage and then this guy out here plus this guy. Because what they do with their protection is they bob right and they sort left. They're anticipating this guy coming. Remember, he's a defensive lineman, so they're going to sort left. And really where they get into trouble is they do a 4-man sort. They still would have had an issue with this guy, okay? So what Buffalo needs to do is to take advantage of the damn numbers advantage out here and throw a bubble or a punch screen, and they got a play over here. Remember, this is 4th and 5. But anytime you're running a 6-man box against a 5-receiver no-back formation, a 6-man box, okay, is going to give pass protection trouble no matter how you slice it. So on the snap, this tackle fans out the C gap, but this D end who's down on the 3-point drops into pass coverage. This guard now, all right, is fanning out. This tackle comes C gap, which eats up the tackle. He's got C gap. When the guard sees he has no one to block, he turns back to try to help out, which is to the overload side. It's too late. This guy and the corner are both coming unblocked in Josh Allen's face, causes him to roll. He does a hell of a job getting the ball off here, and he really gave them a chance to make a play, right? Their receiver just couldn't come up with the catch. But this play was doomed from the get-go based on numbers. Kansas City had them outnumbered in the box with pass protection, but Buffalo had them outnumbered to the left, and they didn't take advantage of it. You know, Josh Allen really is an interesting quarterback. He's big and he's strong and he's got a hell of an arm, and he can really hurt defenses with his legs, but he plays reckless. All right. He did a few things that were head scratchers to me, and let's talk about those right now. In the second quarter and in the middle of his drop, I'm sure you guys all saw this during the game. In the middle of his drop, he is pointing downfield while he is going through his drop. And I'm like, what are we doing here? Okay. And on the replay, it showed that his receiver was getting held on a route, and that was Josh Allen's first read. And he's pointing to the guy, basically saying, hey, my dude's getting held there. Now, that's all fine and dandy, except what should he have done? You know, when your receiver gets held, and that happens all the time in football, you don't point. You just go to your next read, right? Because as soon as he starts pointing to his receiver, you know, trying to alert the official that he's getting held, the timing and the rhythm of the route and his job in delivering the ball and going through his read progressions are all screwed up, right? And so it should have just been, I get into my drop, I see my receiver, my first read getting held. Now my eyes come to my number 2 read. So that's a little undisciplined on his part. Okay, in the fourth quarter, it's 4th and 1, and he does one of these, it wasn't exactly a tush push, because on the snap of the ball, Josh Allen vaults up in the air, and as he does it, he extends both arms and the ball, trying to get it over the first down, you know, the first down yard line. He's got the ball hanging out in midair like this. Now, the problem when you do that is you've got a bunch of elbows and assholes in that pile, and they're flailing and they're punching and they're reaching. It is so easy to get that ball slapped out of your hand. And sure enough, as he's starting to come down, he tries to put the ball away, and he puts it on the ground. Now, fortunately, he was able to recover that fumble. Okay, and then we got the same sort of thing here on one of their 2-point plays. They ran a QB sneak where Allen went to his left to the bubble and got jammed up. All right, jacked up, stood up. I couldn't believe what I was seeing him do. He took the ball in one hand and he was waving it above his head. And again, you've got assholes and elbows. Guys flailing, swinging, punching at the ball, and he's waving it around with one hand before he finally pitches it to his running back who gets tackled and they don't make the 2-point play. Now, let me know in the comments down below, but I am pretty sure that on a 2-point play, the defense can advance a fumble for a touchdown that counts for 2 points for them. And if that's the case, which I think it is, again, that's just not smart football by him. If you're jacked up, if you're stopped on that QB sneak, don't give the other team a chance to put 2 points in their column. Just eat the ball and we'll continue to play in the game. Okay, and in the fourth quarter, he took a drop, and at the end of his drop, he's got either one of his guys or a defensive lineman and one of his guys in his line of sight, and instead of sliding, which is what you teach your quarterbacks to do to get into those gaps to see to throw, he raises up on his toes to look over the top of those guys. And I'm going, shit. Josh, as soon as he raises up on his toes, he can't throw the ball. What does he got to do? He's got to come all the way back down again, get his feet on the ground, and then stride and throw. And all he had to do was just take a slide step to his right or a slide step to his left and get the ball out. Okay, and then he threw, 3 or 4 balls really late where, I'm not in the quarterback room, obviously, for the Buffalo Bills, and I don't know what their reads are on certain concepts versus coverage, but they had a 3rd and 5 one time, and they were running a hitch route with their outside receiver, and that was the side that he was keying. It was trips to that side, 3 receivers. The outside receiver was running a hitch, right? 3rd and 5. The cornerback was lined up off. That was a gimme. That's first down. And I'm thinking to myself before the ball snapped, I don't know what play they're running. I'm thinking to myself, man, just throw a hitch here. And I'm watching it and they run the hitch and I go, throw it. And I don't know what he was looking at. But he eventually threw the hitch. He just threw it way late. He did that a few times in this game. Okay, now, at the end of the day, those are mechanics and characteristics that make Josh Allen a fan favorite. He plays reckless. He makes wild plays. He's fun to watch. He just takes chances when he plays. And you're going to have to live with those results because some of them are going to be spectacular and some of them aren't. Okay, now let's take a look at Kansas City's quarterback, Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes was 18 for 26 for 245 yards and 1 touchdown, and he really hurt the Bills with his legs with 11 carries for 43 yards and 2 touchdowns. And just like Buffalo running that pin pull stuff with the QB power, Kansas City basically did the same thing with Mahomes. It wasn't pin pull, but they ran the same type of scheme with him where they had run action going one way, and they had one of their receivers or a tight end. One time it was a running back who was able to seal the end man on the line of scrimmage and pin him and let Mahomes get outside where now he has a run pass option with really no one to stop him if he runs the ball. And they did that a bunch in this game, and he hurt them with it. And unlike Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes came out of the gate firing on all cylinders. Again, this is Andy Reid, and you script plays, openers. I don't know how many plays that they script, but let's just use 10 as a good number, where they say we're going to run these 10 plays at the beginning of the game, and it doesn't matter what we're seeing defensively. We are running these plays 1 through 10, and they rep them out in a team period all week long. That's probably one of the last things they did as a team on Saturday in their walkthrough, is to walk through those plays. And what you find when teams do this, when they script plays, and this is why coaches do it, is it doesn't matter what team you're watching and what quarterback you're watching. The offenses and the QBs just operate crisper on those scripted plays. Mahomes came out of the gate firing, throwing quick game and then throwing RPOs. Regardless of the situation, it was get the snap and get the ball out fast. He was throwing in rhythm and tempo, and they were humming. Okay, on this first drive, which was 9 plays, 90 yards for a touchdown, Mahomes threw basically a bender route to Juju Smith-Schuster, his receiver. And it was really cool because Mahomes called out the blitz and he even pointed at the guy and said, strong safety's coming. And that guy was coming. So he had it all dialed up, right? Dialed in. And he stood in the pocket and calmly fired that bender and stuck it right in there. And that drive resulted in a touchdown, 7-0 lead. Now, we're going to discuss Mahomes' best throws of the game. Before we do that, some of his best throws were incompletions. In the third quarter, he threw a back shoulder dart on a 3rd and 15. He took the snap, 5-step drop. He took a couple of slide steps to his left because he was sensing that potentially that protection was going to start breaking down to the right. Plus, it bought himself a little bit of time to mesh out with that throw and when he wanted to release it. And then he got his feet underneath him and he cut loose with a laser shot, put it exactly where it needed to go. Exactly. And his receiver botched the play up. His feet were screwed up. And because his feet were screwed up, I think he was thinking too much about his feet and he ended up dropping the ball. But that was a hell of a throw by Mahomes. Okay. Here are Mahomes' best throws of the game. 8-yard completion on a little back shoulder to Travis Kelce in the second quarter. Now, this was only an 8-yard completion, but the timing of the drop, the GST, and the location was absolutely perfect and unstoppable. And then in the fourth quarter, it was 2nd and 3, and he ran it was either a dig or a deeper sit-down route by Smith-Schuster for about a 30-plus yard gain. Now, on this play, Mahomes, as he dropped, looked the safety off. Smith-Schuster's coming in from the right side. Mahomes looked the safety off, got to the end of his drop, gathered his feet, hitched up, and threw a BB to Smith-Schuster. Okay, then we've got the 11-yard out route he threw to Worthy for the touchdown in the second quarter. Okay, here's the 11-yard quick out that Mahomes threw to Worthy for a touchdown in the second quarter. I've got the defense drawn up right here against Kansas City's formation. The Chiefs come out in empty, 5 wides, 2 receivers to the right, 3 to the left. Now notice right here, these 2 receivers are basically stacked, one behind the other. And this is Worthy right here. This is the guy that is going to catch the touchdown pass. Bills are in cover 1, okay, man free. This slot defender, SD, is pressed up on the number 2, and the guy playing behind him and off is responsible for covering Worthy. This is how Kansas City attacks this coverage and what they do with the routes. Okay, let's start with the 2 receiver side. The outside receiver is running a vertical route, all right, and then the slot guy, the number 2 guy, is running what I call a hide route, which is he's got a 2-way go on this, I believe. Now, that's on the back side. This is what's going on the play side, and this is where the action is. The outside receiver is running an outside release vertical. Now, this route right here is what makes the play as far as the receivers go. He's going to run a vertical route, but he is running his stem right through the right shoulder of this guy who's responsible for Worthy. This is a quote-unquote rub. Even though those are illegal in the NFL and in football, that's basically what this is. So Worthy now on the snap is going to run basically a 4-step speed out. All right. And what makes him wide open on this play is that this guy who's responsible for him gets hung up on this vertical route, this rub. Okay. And then he runs a great route, very smooth. He's able to roll over and get to the outside without slowing down. And then the key to this play is Patrick Mahomes. And Mahomes just takes a nice, easy little drop, right? Got his feet set, ready to throw. And he puts the ball on the outside shoulder of Worthy, and he puts it on him in stride. And that's the key because it allows Worthy to catch the ball in full speed and turn it up. So this guy can't make a play, can't catch him, and then he dives into the end zone for a touchdown. Chiefs. This is a well-executed play designed by Andy Reid. little two-man game with the rub route. This is easy pickings for Patrick Mahomes. And then his absolute best throw was the huge crosser that they ran on the mesh concept. It was in the fourth quarter, 2nd and 7 with 4 minutes and 30 seconds to go, and the game was tied at 29. This is a clinic on how to play quarterback. All right. Mahomes wants to throw the rail route to the running back. So they're running the mesh. All right. And the running back's lined up to Mahomes' right. And the rail route is like it's not a wheel route, but it's like a sideline vertical by the running back. And Mahomes is going, okay, if that defender responsible for the running back takes too flat of an angle to run with him, I'm laying it up and letting him go make a big, big play. So when he drops, he's keying that rail route and he almost double clutches and he doesn't throw it because that defender doesn't come down shallow, drive down on the rail route. He sort of fuzzes and keeps his depth. So he's not going to be able to, the back's not going to be able to run by him. So Mahomes then snaps his eyes to the mesh. Now, when he snaps his eyes to the mesh, he's got the mesher from the left side, which is Mahomes' backside. You got the mesher on the right side. They're crossing, and here comes the mesher from the left. When Mahomes comes to that little crossing action, that mesh action, he gets pressure from a defensive lineman where he has to step in at the same time. He turns the ball away from a potential hand slap, protecting it with both hands, keeping it up close on his chest, right? And then gets it reloaded and delivers an absolute perfect throw to that mesher in stride, who turns it up and runs for a long way. Okay, now a couple of random thoughts. One thing that surprised me about Andy Reid is that they didn't go after the backup cornerback, Elam, as much as I thought that they would. This guy came into the game for Benford when Benford, their starter, went out with a concussion, and he looked like he was scared to death, right? He was playing way off the receivers. He was slow to react on crossing routes. He just looked like he was lost and playing with absolutely no confidence. Now, Reid did attack him throughout the game. I was just surprised they didn't go at him more often, because anything they were going to throw against him was going to be a completion. The Bills running back, James Cook, what an absolute stud that guy is. He looks like he's shot out of a cannon on run plays. And for as big a stud as Cook is, he touched the ball 16 times, 13 runs and 3 catches. That's not enough. Okay, analytics suck. Okay, and the coaches who chase extra points or chase points by going for 2-point plays in the second quarter or the third quarter or whatever, those guys are infuriating to me. You've got some pencil pusher sitting in a trigonometry lab somewhere on Stanford's campus coming up with these analytics about when to go for 1 and when to go for 2 and all that shit. You don't go for 2 points until you absolutely need it. All right. And that usually happens towards the end of the game. It just doesn't make sense to me. Okay. Kansas City, really apparent they work on special teams, which is so huge. I mean, punt return and kickoff return, those are offensive weapons. And you could tell Kansas City has put some work into their special teams. So finally, between these two quarterbacks, in my opinion, the difference between them is this. Josh Allen is a tough and competitive quarterback. He has a big arm, but he plays reckless, and that leads to inconsistencies. Patrick Mahomes is also tough and very competitive. He's got a tremendous feel for the game. He plays under control. And while he does make wild plays, right, what he basically almost always does is he runs Reid's offense the way it's designed to be run. Okay, so Kansas City and Philly are set to get after it in the Super Bowl, coming from New Orleans. This is going to be an interesting game, particularly Kansas City's offense against a very salty Philadelphia defense. Hopefully Jalen Hurts is 100% healthy If you enjoyed my take on the AFC title game between Buffalo and Kansas City and the two elite quarterbacks, hit that like button. That helps me out a ton. If you haven't already done it, please subscribe to the channel. I appreciate your support. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of this game. All right, this is QB Unfiltered, and remember, always throw the ball short to guys who can score. See ya.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.